In 5, 4. We are joined by Matt Berkey, who has been incredibly patient as I work out all kinds of technical difficulties, and we end up just on Zoom where we all belong. Now, Matt, you're one of my favorites. I love having you on the show. I love talking poker with you. I love talking life with you. And actually, in the last few years, one of the things we've really been able to connect on and talk about is content and creating fresh content for the poker community. You're doing it in a ton of different avenues, which I want to touch on several of them. But first of all, you had some Instagram stories this last week where we saw Maria Konnikova, we saw Vanessa Selps. I want to say there was a real medley and slew of some of the biggest and best names in poker at this point, and inquiring minds want to know what's going on. What's your new project?
Sure. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, I pitched our production crew on a new documentary idea. And basically the framing of it was I was in Airbnb in Atlantic City playing the Brigada fall event or whatever the case may be. And I was there with Christian and one of his really close friends from high school who had been grinding since the boom began, was playing as high as 1020, but now was effectively broke, sitting on the couch, playing like micro stakes online. And I'm just watching him go through the slew of emotions every single pot that he's playing. He's going from like throwing his laptop to dancing around. And, it just every time the dust settles, it's just sadness. And it kind of struck a nerve with me in the sense that like, at the time we were like maybe a year removed from dead money. And I kind of like looked at this kid and I was like, he represents the community, not me. It's so unfair to highlight the upper echelon of like what it looks like to kind of make it and not really put a spotlight to how difficult the struggle actually is. So we embarked upon this doc that I pitched my guys called To Be Determined, where effectively we just wanted to shadow him. And we wanted to get the insight as to how he even got to this point, what his path is moving forward. He's 33 now, and he's effectively playing like low stakes, no limit hold'em to pay rent. And that's a struggle. And I don't think people understand that. Like it's not as easy as just showing up to the casino and collecting a check. Like you're really suffering through the waves. And like this kid's playing with effectively no money and just trying to pay his bills. So we shadowed him for 18 months. We gave him some coaching and some opportunities. There's some highs, there's some lows. We ultimately ended up partnering with PokerGo to get this doc finished. Shout out to them. They've been more than gracious and generous with our timelines and budgets and things along those lines. So that was super helpful. And right now we're just in the final phase of doing the interview process. So we were in New York to interview Maria, as you mentioned, and Vanessa. Also, we had Alan Berry while we were there. And then we have dates set up for late May to get Phil Gelfond, Garrett Adelstein, Seidel. Oh, man, I'm going to be a real ass if I leave people out here. Brent will be a part of it as well. There's just a list of like varying people, be it those who are well accomplished in the game or those who have transitioned out or those like Maria who are just transitioning in and find the game fascinating and new. We pretty much just like wanted that thread line of all perspectives of like, why keep doing this if it seems so futile?
So you'll be weaving in those interviews with this one particular player's rise and fall, I guess?
Yeah. I kind of like see it as this like gritty, grimy 30 for 30 where,
nice.
You have this like struggling athlete almost really trying to bust his way through the ranks and everybody around him is kind of like shaking their head saying like, what do you think is on the other side? And then actually being able to demonstrate the other side through those who are a little bit jaded and have moved on, through those who are super excited and just getting in, and the middle ground of those who are well accomplished but understand that maybe this isn't viable forever.
Did you feel those waves of emotion like early in your career? Like did the ups and downs really hit you pretty hard?
I was a train wreck until what I hope was the final time that I went broke in like 2010. But I think it was different for me, and maybe not. Maybe I'm just too far removed now where I think that the landscape has changed. But at the time, it's like I grew up in this game. So I transitioned straight from college into professional poker, and I didn't know anything about life. And trying to learn those two things at the same time is incredibly difficult. Like the sheer and utter variance that's involved in poker and the inability to kind of curb expectations while you're young and brash and expect the world to fall at your feet is really challenging. And you get humbled a lot along the way. So for me, like, yeah, I mean, I was playing way over my head. My entire life role was on the line any given day. I went broke a magnitude of times. So, I was heavily invested every single time I sat down at the table.
Well, I don't know how many people have had the opportunity to see your guys' first sizzle or your first trailer, but I was lucky enough to see it. And I have to say that one of the things that really struck me about the project itself was actually its ability to speak to people in totally different fields and totally different professions. There was one scene where the guy you're following is basically saying, that he can go to the casino and, essentially he can grind what's close to $25, $30 an hour every day. And so, why struggle so much to get better when really $300 a day is a pretty good living for most people? And I, for one, can say for my own self, and I know plenty of other people who have this same experience of finding yourself getting by and doing okay with what you have and forgetting that it's pretty important to always be pushing, right? To do something better. And really that if you don't surround yourself with people who are pushing for that greatness, maybe you get lost along the way.
Yeah, I think that what is not really considered by most is that it's human nature to be comfortable or to work towards comfort. But that said, we are creatures that are incredibly good at dealing with suffering. So really all it comes down to is how much suffering are you willing to, by default, take in your comfort level. So I look at like Oscar's life and I think like, my God, if I ever regress to that, I don't know what I would do. Like I couldn't possibly imagine trying to live on $300 a week again. Like that was college me. And I feel like I've evolved past that. But the fact of the matter is, like what he's saying also is relatively true. There are a lot of people who have it way worse. And getting by on $300 a week is just completely reasonable. And there is a life there. So I think that like, if you're never pushing, you're ultimately just your ceiling becomes your comfort or your complacency. And the problem with that is there's always going to be a regression to the mean. So what he's not considering when he says things like that are risk of ruin. And if you're only making $25 or $30
I think your mic might have went out, maybe.
Yeah. Hold on, let me pause.
Okay,
guys, we worked it out, and Matt just did a lesson on Zoom where it was breaking out. So like we might just be in some sort of vortex today, but basically you were saying that your complacency can become your comfort zone.
Yeah, so I think like when complacency defines your ceiling now, because you have no desire to ever push through it, what ultimately happens is you spend your life regressing to the mean. And that level of suffering that you're willing to take on to remain complacent will continually grow. So when he says he can make $30 an hour, that may be true if all things are equal and he has an infinite bankroll, but he doesn't. The reason he's humping these low stake games is because he has no bankroll and his risk of ruin is through the roof. So like what he's not considering is like, yeah, if you're able to play, you might make that money. But 1 week, you're just going to be dead broke and you're not going to be able to make anything. And now bills are going to start to pile up and your suffering is now going to reset what your norm is.
Two things. Number one, I know you mentioned the timeline for the interviews that you guys have scheduled. Do you have any idea of a kind of release date? And then number two, are you able to reveal to us anything about the actual journey that you went on with Oscar, and if it had a really high or a really low, or can you just kind of give us a little tease of sorts?
Sure. So we are aiming for August for launch, but you know how these things go. It's never as smooth as just slapping a date on something. So end of summer, I guess, is the hope. As far as teasing it out, it's It's difficult because it's one of those things where there's just so much emotion and empathy in my mind attached to the character. Like, you just really get to know Oscar, I guess, as a person. And I expect that he will be incredibly relatable to everybody, whether it's something they see in themselves or an extension of them in their close group of friends, where it's just like, oh man, this is so-and-so that I've been trying so hard to move through the ranks for all these years, and he just seems resistant and, just ultimately keeps failing. But, the thing I can tease is that Oscar had a lot of really good opportunities throughout the course of this. So it's not all dread and despair. Like, there's a legit shot for him to make something of himself, dependent upon like what he's capable of.
I think it's interesting too, though, because the sort of sub-story, if we get really meta with it, is that also for you and your team, you guys are sort of, above the line, if you will, in terms of the poker space. So what's next for you? What are you guys doing? Then it's Solve for Why, it's coaching. Now I think it has a lot to do with the creating content and bringing people in. So can you talk a little bit about I know for a fact, after doing 10 years of film and television production, I am really sick of producing. It's really hard. It's really stressful. It's really difficult to wrangle people and locations and, teams and technology. And so I would say for you, you're continuing to grow and reach, but does this also have a lot of struggle?
Yeah, I mean, the struggle is just making people care. It's so hard, right? It's like we're really trying to reset boundaries when it comes to quality of content that people expect, be it from the training videos or entertainment value or whatever the case may be. And it's just really difficult to get people to pay attention. We spent a lot of time, money, and effort putting together a vlog series last summer during the WSOP that was unique, creative, took a different spin on things. And they're some of our lowest watched stuff. And I know some of it was timing. Of course, there was other people doing content at the same time that may garner more eyes. But, for us to get 50, or it's probably up to like 80,000 views now, where we do a 2-minute skit on Doug Polk retiring me, and that just takes off. But when we do a well thought out 10-part series that is effectively half written and, high quality content, and it only averages like 6,000 views, it's just kind of disheartening. Some of that falls on me.
I hear you, by the way. Like, I know exactly what that feels like, and it's awful.
Awful. But like a lot of that falls on me too. It's like marketing is certainly my weakest area of expertise, and we're still a new company too, so marketing dollars are generally going to be the vacuum that sucks up a lot of your profit. So we're trying to align some things. We have a big plan of attack starting with this summer, but really hitting its stride right around the launch of To Be Determined, where we did an original series for our subscription site called Origins, and it kind of followed my path, Christian's path, and Jordan's path, all to arriving at Solve for Why. And it was another layer that I wanted to add to the subscription site, where I thought like, this would be a cool thing for the community that we're building to kind of latch onto. And it just hasn't really gotten the traction on the subsite that we had hoped. People were there to train. They're just not really that concerned with entertainment. So I think our plan is we're gonna shift that into some of our free content. We're gonna launch it right around the series. Christian and I are gonna be doing a bit of a vlogcast for the summer, where we'll be doing a long form podcast once a week that we are gonna video, and we're gonna have like prepackaged portions to like cut to, effectively similar to like vlog footage. So if somebody runs deep, we're gonna have it covered. If there's drama, we'll talk about it, and we'll have whatever footage we have of said drama. Just always trying to challenge the norms and do something different than what the consumers are used to seeing.
How involved are you with Pigtails Productions now? Like, do you see yourself as not just an idea guy or a creator of sorts, but getting in the mix as far as the actual producing of everything is concerned?
They are really great at giving me just enough rope to like, I guess, explore my creativity and have some level of say. But at the end of the day, I defer to them. Like, they're the experts. I'm never going to tell them how to set up a shot. I'm never going to, like, honestly, most of the time, whenever I say things like that, I say it laughingly, knowing that I'm trying not to like step on any toes. Like,
yeah,
hey, like this would be kind of cool. Like like, what if it was pretty dark? You know what I mean? Like, what if we did that? Like, but I have no fucking idea. So I just know like what I like to watch and like what I like to see, and I try to pass that along. They're the geniuses behind everything, especially like anything that's funny is almost certainly like them behind it. Like they're a comedy team first and foremost. So that's where the whole "Did Doug Polk retire me" bit come from. Like Justin wrote the entire thing out, just made it really easy for all of us to lean on our lack of ability to act and get a couple yucks out of it.
I, for one, have just really, really enjoyed so much of the content and watching you guys evolve and watching Solve for Why evolve. And, you know, I think it's interesting because we've seen a lot, you know, I think it's great that you guys are going to talk to Phil Galfond. I think he's trying to build something and being a person who, you know, has integrity and cares about the community. And I think that's something you can really see from Solve for Why is just this integrity and really not like trying to make all this money out of content, but to create something that's worthwhile and valuable. And I've super enjoyed it. So I know you can't give us all the info about the WSOP, but I loved your guys's vlog. What were we calling vlogumentary?
Yeah.
Last summer. I thought it was fantastic. And I completely understand that, you know, sometimes people like would prefer to watch garbage, like watch people play video games or whatever it is. But what not only are your plans content-wise for the summer, but also for your playing? What are the guys from Solve for Why going to be doing at the WSOP this year?
Sure. So content-wise, Origin should release at least once a week throughout the course of the summer, but it may be twice a week. I'm not sure how many episodes we're going to land on. We may be somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, which would allow us to get 2 a week out. And then we're going to do a once a week, like I said, vlogcast. It'll probably be like every Sunday, kind of a week in review type thing. But honestly, like this has been a long time coming where Christian and I have talked about starting a podcast, and I really want to do it more so from the vantage point of just like talking about a myriad of topics rather than being poker focused. I don't think it's any secret that at the end of the day, like my long-term vision isn't to be the poker scientist. I want to be able to speak eloquently and intelligently in a lot of other arenas. So I think we're going to I think first and foremost, we'll touch a lot upon like diet, nutrition, and training. Just Christian's been on a pretty incredible journey the last year or so. He's down like 60 pounds and he's really getting after it. And I think that like kind of bringing that to light of just how studied he is really important to help people understand, like when you have achievable goals in mind, it's incredibly important to apply knowledge or to increase your knowledge base, because the more knowledgeable you become, the less resistance there is. And I'm actually doing a webinar on this tomorrow for the subscribers of our All-In Access. We do a monthly webinar to that specific subset, and my entire thing is on resistance training, and not in the traditional sense of like going to the gym and using bands or weights, but more so in like the areas in which people are most resistant to hearing empirical truths and still denying. And we come across this a lot as teachers, where it's just like it's hard to get past bias. And I think that like from a holistic standpoint is ultimately what I mean when I say like we're solving for why. It's like we're putting that in the forefront in order to strip away a lot of biases, so we can just like kind of objectively look at problems and figure out the cleanest path to solving them.
So to apply that to this summer and all the poker that goes on, let's say it's somebody's coming out for the whole grind. It's their first grind. It's 6 weeks. You know, it's every day. Like you mentioned, there's a lot more that goes into it than your actual poker playing. And I know that we could spend days and days of how to prepare for a summer, you know, just on this one topic. But what would your generic advice be to somebody who's kind of taking on this total physical and mental grind for a month and a half?
I think it's kind of twofold. I think first and foremost, it's an exercise in setting expectations. So you should have a very clear understanding of what the average attempt at this is going to look like. You know, not the best case scenario, not even the worst case scenario where you have X amount of buy-ins and you don't cash for anything. Mm-hmm. More so just like on average, do you think your ROI is about 30% in the fields that you're playing? If so, how much are you investing? What does that return look like? Et cetera, et cetera. Like just being able to manage those emotions when you're in a neutral state of mind prior to actually digging in every single day and figuring out if you have the heart to show up again to the next one it will make that resistance a lot less. The second thing is create a regimen. Don't fall into the trap. There are so many distractions here, and there are so many ways to deviate off of what you hoped were your best laid plans. Following that regimen will just absolutely keep you in line. I don't care what it is. I don't care if your morning routine is coffee and a hot shower, or if you're a lot more diligent and you're hitting the gym, taking a cold bath, whatever the case may be. Just like ensure that your days are blocked off and that time is well spent. And then the last thing is just like utilize your downtime. So when you bust events early, don't wallow, don't try to figure out if you should go late reg another event, or like what's my headspace and things like that. Just chill. You're in Vegas for the summer. Like, this is your time to kind of unwind and relax, lay by the pool, hang out with some friends, whatever. But like, understand that if you're sticking to that regimen, then you're going to have a time when you need to go to bed. You're going to have a time when you need to wake up, and that should be hard fast.
What will your regiment be like this summer?
I'm on it this summer, man. I'm all in on the World Series. I just did my schedule. I think I have like between 180 and 300,000 worth of buy-ins. Wow. Playing literally every day. And in years past, I'd like scheduled off days or like planned to take days off or whatever the case may be. I'm not doing that this time. I think that like I've put in enough time and effort to where my daily regimen is strong enough where I'm not going to get emotionally beaten down by the grind. And I'm just pretty accepting of it. Like I said, I understand what the average case looks like, but I also understand what the best case can look like. And I think I'm capable of achieving it. So I'm in it, man. 50 days, like I'll be there every single day, with the exception of there's a 3-day window where I have to go to San Francisco for I got asked to do a keynote speech, which I'm horrified over. So there will be a 3-day window where I'm taking a day off, but it's during like the 50K Players Championship, so there isn't much going on.
I think it's interesting though, trying to imagine for somebody who's playing and also creating content. Obviously, the World Series is a time where there's a lot of really interesting content, but it's also a time when you're going to be playing a lot. Doing something like a more structured video blog, which includes pieces and elements, which are clearly going to need, preparation and time. Even having one day a week that you both agree to do something is often pretty much impossible.
Yeah. I mean, Christian's great in this element too, where we're kind of on that same path where it's wake up, sauna, gym, shower, work. And with that being what it is, we also understand that like making day twos and all these things are going to disrupt what that morning routine looks like. So we're going to have to sacrifice gym some days. We're going to have to sacrifice sauna some days, whatever the case may be. But we can pull an hour out of that little subset and just work in the podcast. And it's going to be hard. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. Last year was very like crippling, just because I think that we bit off more than we could chew. We all started off bad, and that hit a little bit harder than expected, I think, for everyone, because we had a camera in our face every step of the way. And it's like, man, you just forget, like, it's not always puppy dogs and rainbows where it's just like, yeah, I want a bracelet and you guys were here to film it. It's like, nah, I'm at my lowest point right now and you're here to film it.
Will you play any cash this summer? Because I imagine there are some games that are probably pretty appealing to you, but on the other hand, you're on that tournament grind.
Yeah, I mean, the tournament grind is a lot out of necessity more so than desire. I mean, tournaments are torture when you're not winning them. But I think my ROI is pretty massive in these fields, and also I'm just like spread pretty thin in cash. So I recently cleared makeup by a pretty wide margin, and there was some health issues with the liaison, I guess, to my backing group. So we just pulled back, and I'd been selling action and taking some on my own. But with me being so exposed to the World Series and the game just continually getting bigger, I mean, the last time I played, we were playing 3-6-12, and the game was pretty massive. So I felt a little bit underrolled for that scenario. So effectively, I'm satelliting this summer. I'm just going to try to win a bunch of bracelets so that I can have all of myself in the big game instead of a fraction of it. But I'll play some cash when good spots pop up. I would definitely pass on like some of the lower buy-in tournaments for like a good 300, 600 game. It's just more so like figuring out the volatility aspect of like, is this really 300, 600, or are we going to be playing 1K, 2K, in which case, like, now I'm just shutting myself out.
Ah, my boys. All right. Well, I can see, is it Christian? I see like a shadow in your photo. He's like pacing. What's happening? What's happening in the background? Is he waiting for you? Are you guys going to do something after this?
No, he just got done with the coaching lesson. He's probably frustrated.
You guys, this is it. Like, if you want to know the truth, if you want to know the real nitty gritty, Solve for Why guys are here. And if you do want to see some of those moments,
There he is.
I saw in the back. If you do want to really see the truth of what it's like to be a poker player, and apparently I can't wait to see other people's perspectives on why they keep coming back and beating themselves up in this spot, let us know when everything's coming out. Let's do another interview when To Be Determined is going to launch. And of course, I'm sure we'll do tons of stuff this summer. Let the homies out there know where they can find you and how they can get involved with Solve for Why, should they so desire.
Sure. So I'm Berkey11 on all social platforms. Our business accounts are Solve for Why Academy on all social platforms except for Twitter, which is Solve for Why Acad. It was taken. But you can also just check us out at our website, solveforwhyacademy.com, or tv.solveforwhyacademy.com. And yeah, if you don't have a membership already, get one. There's a 7-day free trial, and I'm doing a 2.5-hour webinar tomorrow that's free to anybody who signs up to the all-in access pass. So yeah, seems like a good time to jump on and get some free content.
Yeah, free content. I love it. People still complain about it. Someone was just complaining on our Facebook page about the thing earlier, which I'm just like, you know what, everybody? Keep coming for me. See how that goes for you. All right. Well, I super appreciate it, Matt Berkey. Thank you for your patience and your brilliance and just like all the things that you bring to the poker world. This is at Jeff Platt. I'm at Aunty Chardonnay. Let us know if you guys have any ideas, if you guys have any ideas for guests you want to see on, if you have any questions, you can get at us. You can slide right on into our DMs. And in the meantime, we'll catch you guys next week. Deuces.